So a lot of you think that Fanaka sucks, and I'm here to tell you that, well, mostly doesn't suck. Mostly doesn't suck. There's a couple places for him. Hello. All right, today I want to talk about Fanaka. So Fanaka is the current HOH. A lot of people think he's a pretty shitty unit. I'm here to tell you otherwise. I think he's actually pretty good at what he does. Obviously, he's not a meta-defining unit. He's not I pick this unit first every single game. He's not a Sierra. He's not an Okeanos. But that doesn't make him bad, right? He has his slot, and he does it well. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with what Fanaka does, let's go through it. So first of all, Fanaka is a little weird because the base speed's 93. Yes, I get it. It's very slow. But Fanaka has an interesting kit. So skill 1 is a stun chance that does additional damage based on defense. Pretty straightforward standard. Skill 2 is a provoke that scales on your defense that also turns you into a stone. So while you're a stone, you're unable to be inability affected. So you can't be slept, you can't be stunned, you can't be frozen. You receive 30% less damage, and you also recover 10% HP per turn until the state statue is gone. So this with skill ups becomes a 3-turn cooldown and also changes your harmful effect rate up to 100%. So 100% chance to provoke for 1 turn. So there are a couple cool combinations. Obviously, 1-turn provoke is really strong with Nyx because it allows you to get multiple turn provokes. It can be good in other ways as well, depending on what you need. I think the provoke itself is really kind of strong, actually, in the, kind of turn 2 style teams you'd build this into. So the interesting thing about Fanaka, though, is the passive. So Fanaka's passive is called Statue of Trial. Now, this passive is super unique in the way that it has cooldown resets. So when you're turned into a statue after using skill 2, increase the skill cooldown time of the target that attacks you by 2 turns. So this adds 2 turns to your cooldown. So if you're 0 cooldowns, you'd go to 2 turns, right? Now, the interesting part about this effect is that it reads, the cooldown time can be increased over the max cooldown time for monsters, excluding the bosses. So what happens is if a unit attacks you and then let's say it violent procs, and it only does AoEs or something, it attacks you again, right? Now its turns have gone from 2 turns to 4 turns. If it had a skill 2 that was a 2-turn cooldown, that skill is now a 4-turn cooldown, right? It does not go to the max, it goes past the max. So kind of fun and unique, punishes AoEs a little bit here and there, but the really big effect I find with Fanaka, especially the way I've used him in the past, is that Fanaka was really, really good for me when I ran a turn 2 team, where I let people go first, and then I'd turn 2 cleave them, so I had cleansers to move in between, and then set up for the provoke into the cooldown reset. Or I took turn 1, boosted up, stripped, AoE provoked, reset their cooldowns, and then killed them on the next turn. And lastly, I found it pretty effective against the Triana, Vanessa kind of teams, where what happens is you provoke them, they hit you, their cooldowns go up, and then now they don't have anti-revive. Or now, sorry, they don't have the anti-death passive or the revive passive in. So I've always found Fanaka to fill a very specific role super well. He was also pretty good against Tyrannus for the same reason. You provoke Tyrannus, he hits you once, you kill him within a turn or 2. Usually pretty good in that sense as well. It's not bad against Beast Riders. It's pretty much good against anything that needs cooldowns, right? I'd say the biggest downside to his build, yes, 93 base speed. He is a nat 4, so fairly easy to build. His base defense is, I think, the 2nd or 3rd highest in the game, which is incredible. Base HP is all right. 10k is all right. But that speed being low kind of sucks. So no speed awakening, nothing like that. But overall, I do think that Fanaka can fill your role for turn 2 teams. Can fill your role against Vanessa Trianas. And it's actually a really, really, really strong budget pick when you have 20-star RTA available and 4-star RTA, because it fills a role that gets mitigated out a lot. So in 20-star, him being a 4-star means you can pick him with more things. Him being a 4-star allows him to replace roles like, since in 4-star only you can't use Gandhi, you can't use Okeanos, stuff like that. But outside of that, there are a couple different rune builds I would suggest. So I personally run speed defense HP. I think speed defense is good, and I think speed defense resistance is also good. I've run a max resist Fanaka build before a couple times. I've tried double will. I've tried shield sets. I've tried despair. I have tried violent. I will tell you right now, Violent is terrible on Fanaka, in my opinion. Because if you Violent proc out of the stone state, you wasted the whole stone state. Despair, not so great either, because if you Despair stun them, they can't revenge you on the provoke. They can't attack you on the provoke and then gain their cooldowns. So I would suggest not Violent, not Despair. Swift is an option. Multiple shield sets are an option. Accuracy, tolerance, etc. Any sets like that are options. I think will is really important. At least one. Optionally 2 will sets if you want it for some reason. Don't think you really need 2 will sets, but 1 is more than enough. I would suggest running max accuracy. Your entire kit is based around the provoke. You need to kind of land it and then get hit while you're in stone form. Resistance is really nice, but it is luxury because you're not awakening into resist or accuracy. You need to find the stats somewhere. So should you choose to go for resistance slots, I really hope you're running focus sets or endure sets to kind of make up the lack of stats you're going to have. For speed, I've always been a little kind of 50-50 on where I like my Fanaka to be. I think for the most part, it really comes down to what kind of team you're building. If you're using attack bar boosters, you want a speed tune. If you're not using attack bar boosters, 210, 230 range is usually okay. But for me, I have found my Fanaka to be most effective usually in the 220 range, because that's where like the stats kind of start to vary. It's like if you go too fast, you start to lose too many stats, especially if you're going for high resist builds, because my resist builds nowadays are usually 100 resist, 70-ish accuracy, just because I can get the accuracy from my artifact. But yeah, the nice thing with artifacts now, Fanaka's base HP being low, you can just run double HP artifacts, right? You get a lot of mileage out of the low base HP and the HP artifacts just giving you a flat amount. I think another thing that's a little bit underrated about the way Fanaka is used and the way people want to use him is that people often don't put him on revenge. And I think that in his like off turns, he's actually fairly good on revenge. So having your Fanaka on revenge in the off turns allows you to do damage and stun. It's kind of nice because when you go into the stone form, you get that small bit of healing as well when you come out. So picking Fanaka into teams like... I've picked it a couple times, Fanaka and Molly or Fanaka and Juno against like those really hard CC teams where they just don't quite have all of the damage there. Obviously, if they have Gemini, Chongpong, and Dokeanis, it's going to be harder, but there is an opportunity to use that Fanaka like sustain and really like push it against people. So I wouldn't sleep on it. His damage output is not incredible. It's not bad though. I mean, the defense scaling with how high his base defense is. I have tried him on crit damage before. I couldn't get it to work. My runes were not really that great when I did it, but I do think that you could run him on crit damage, or at least on crit rate with high defense. My style of build for Fanaka would be like a slower Bruiser Veligil style if I was to do that, and then add accuracy as a bonus. Somewhere in the 50 range would be the absolute minimum I would suggest, where the upper end would be somewhere near like 70 plus the artifact. But yeah, if you guys are looking for gameplay of Fanaka, I will try my best to put it out there a little bit here and there when I play RTA on stream. I would also suggest my friend Firas. If you guys don't know him, Firas, I'll link his Twitch below as well. He is a G2, G3 RTA player, very, very focused around building Nyx and using Nyx for all of his stuff. Huge buff incoming for Nyx. I'm sure you'll see a lot of it, but he loves Fanaka. He watched me use it in a special league, I think, where I only ran defense units maybe about a year and a half ago. Loved the concept of the unit. Got him, and then really just showcased him. Like he does some great work. So if you're ever looking for some advice on Fanaka, you can hit either of us up. Both of us stream. And yeah, there's not too much else to it. I really think that Fanaka is a potentially decent unit and also usable in Guild Wars offense, Siege offense. The big thing is people see it and they're like, oh, this unit's not OP. I don't really care. And I wanted to bring a little bit of light to him because he's done good for me, right? I want to try to be fair to the unit. And give it a little bit of love, I guess. But yeah, if you guys have any questions below, you can leave a comment. I will answer all the comments as usual. I know a lot of you guys are wondering like, oh, does he still stream Summoners War? Is he still playing Summoners War? All that stuff. I do still stream Summoners War. I still play Summoners War. I am also doing Pokemon. I'm going to kind of be doing both on the channel here as well as on my Twitch channel. So if you have any questions, you can always hit me up in the comments below, Discord, etc. I'm always around. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the content. Thanks for being here. See ya.